Hey guys, per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes and is not intended as financial advice. So no frills today, straight to the charts. Alts popping off. We've got Backed coming on the 23rd. Will it matter? Who knows? I don't think we're going to dump on the news, but that's just me. If I'm bearish Bitcoin right now, I don't want to see alts popping off. That's just my opinion. We had alts popping off in April. LTC basically let us out of purgatory on sideways Bitcoin land, and seeing alts pop off before Bitcoin moves, even though Bitcoin doesn't look great, admittedly, on its own, is at least a signal to me that we're headed in the right direction for Bitcoin here. So before today, the story of the week was definitely ETH, and had this really nice falling wedge that faked out once. This is hard to see because of the R&R profile here, but it faked out once. It stopped me out. I closed my position. Then I relonged my position on the 9th of September. And we had volume finally, multi-month high here on volume. So at least there's some sort of something coming back to Ethereum. It's above the key join on the cloud. It's headed for probably 240, 250, something, and then like that in the near term. We'll see what happens over the next 12 hours or so. It doesn't look great, admittedly, on lower time frames, but I don't really think there's too much of a concern for massive reversal. Another thing I'm looking at on ETH is the 5200 cross and this old pitchfork. Yeah, it's got an extra wing. Deal with it. I added it because of this funny business here. So, if we're above everything on the bearish pitchfork, that to me is super bullish long term, not necessarily near term, but it says we're definitely out of whatever we were in the previous months. And on top of that, we're headed for potentially a bullish 5200 cross. We're getting resistance where we should be getting resistance based on the VVVR profile. Next resistance around 295, 300, something like that. And like I mentioned on this chart, if we break 350, 360, 400 on ETH, something massive is happening, something's changing. There's some fundamental news. Now, if you're a meth head, you're thinking, oh, proof of stake is coming. Sure. I don't really give that a lot of fundamental zoomies, but we'll see. And yeah, all the alts, like I said, really popping off today. Litecoin, as much as it up, still hasn't hit the daily key June. BNB definitely lagging, and so is Monero. And I don't know what's going on with XRP and XLM. There was some news about JPM releasing a stablecoin or something. And anytime there's banking news, like XRP competition news, this tends to go up. I don't know. It's really weird. Doesn't make any sense to me. That's the way it is. And looking at ETH BTC, I think a good zone, this is a 3-day, would be 0.24, 0.024, 0.025, something like that. Just not rocket science. Previous lows, support becoming resistance, and it's also a key June on the 3-day, just so happens. So definitely a nice place to chill once it figures out the nice V bottom here. Moving on to Bitcoin, usual broken record stuff. Nothing crazy coming up on the futures rollover other than this April 1st contract was when we started to moon in Q2. So speculation here, people are, if they've held this entire time, they're rolling it over into the September 30th contract or the September whatever contract. I don't know what these people are doing. But that's one theory. We probably drop before the rollover like we kind of always do. I don't know. I don't really have anything else other than it's coming up September 27th next week. Something to watch. High liquidity time frame. Tether's $1. That's fine. There's a mild premium on Bitfinex. Again, if I'm bullish on BTC, I don't want to see any funny business. I just want to see Tether $1. I want to see zero spread between exchanges. Nothing crazy. Here's the monthly chart. I'm showing this just because on Bitcoin, somebody obviously has looked at the monthly chart before. I don't look at it too often. I don't really see anything crazy right now. I don't know what this wickiness would mean. The bull in me with the bull goggles wants to say this is a bull pennant or flag or whatever. If you're Peter Brandt or a bear, you're saying this is a descending triangle and this is going to break. If we break 9.4, I'm right there with you. But right now, I just don't see it as we stand. Here's weekly cloud. We're above the weekly cloud-ish. 85 would be the level on the Kijun, which is sort of where we broke down previously when we were at a similar spot. Now in 2016, we were way above the Kijun at that time, percentage-wise. Not as much here. This was the Bitfinex hack. For those of you who weren't here at the time, or don't know what that massive down candle was, and that sort of spike one day, one and done event, let everybody get washed out, and then it started the massive run, multi-year bull run from there. Another thing I'm watching is, even though this was above the cloud on the weekly with the bullish Kumo twist, it's still pulled back. So we don't even have the bullish Kumo twist yet. So if I'm bearish, I'm thinking, okay, there's plenty of time here. There's no reason to make any sudden moves on either direction. If you're a high time frame, long time horizon trader, you're thinking, what am I waiting for? I'm waiting for the cloud to turn green. Okay, I'm waiting for the cloud to show some bullish strength. I'm waiting for a price to be distinctly out of the cloud for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Definitely waiting for this consolidation period to end, stuff like that. But I don't really see anything massively bearish as we sit here. Here's the daily cloud with 5,200 on it. 5,200 doesn't show anything ridiculous. We've been weaving in and out of the 50. Just tells me we're super consolidation sideways. Volume way down, consolidation sideways, just waiting for the move, waiting for that volume to come back. 200's around 8.8. I don't know what it is now, something like that. So 8.5, 8.8, 9. These are all levels for support. Should we puncture down through the cloud here? A lot of people are pointing out this bearish twist on the cloud, which is definitely something, if I'm bearish, I'm happy about. It says that the future isn't too bright. Another thing you can look at if you're a bear is that we've been under the Kijun probably for a month and a half, maybe. It just says, massive resistance up there. We haven't made a higher high. We're building a descending triangle, if you want to call it that. Those sort of things, if you're bearish. Personally, I'm not. But, margin longs to me are above the cloud. Right now, as we sit, this is just a coin flip almost. I don't really see anything one way or the other. And nothing exemplifies that better than the 4-hour. I love to show these charts because it shows when you shouldn't be using the cloud. When we're this ranging, seemingly random walking, nothing sideways-ish-ness, it just is almost impossible to actually trade this in any market, but let alone using the cloud. It just doesn't, your risk reward is just bad. So it just shows you, don't use high time frames, don't use the cloud, don't use low time frames, don't use the cloud especially. It's just not good. Here is the daily alligator fractal, Williams alligator fractal. These are just EMAs, another type of cloud type thing. Not great, again, much like the 4-hour as far as trade entries, exits. What I'm looking at right now is if we flip bearish and break 9.8, that's calling for a short entry. If we flip bullish on the EMAs and break 10.4, that's calling for a bullish entry. That's about it. So it's definitely getting tight. And we know that because of the Bollinger Bands. I'll show those in a second. And lastly, for the trend stuff, another strategy is to use Heikin-Ashi candlesticks with the cloud. And what you can do is say, all right, I'm going to wait till we're above or below the cloud, and I see at least 2 or 3 confluent candlesticks. So if we're bearish or below the cloud, and I see 3 red candlesticks in a row, or 2 or 3 leading into the down move, then that's an entry. Again, this just helps you when we're uber sideways, not get faked out and enter positions that you're getting stopped out in immediately, that sort of thing. If I'm bullish, again, I want to see price above cloud, but I also want to see like we did here, multiple bullish candlesticks leading into that Kumo breakout. Here's B-bands, and I'll just talk about these real quick. In the last three, they just show how sideways we are, basically, volatility. And historically, on the weekly, we've been above the 20. It's been bullish, below, it's been bearish. Nothing exemplifies that better than April, baby. Boom, above the 20 and off to the races we were. So seeing us cliff here doesn't exactly give me a lot of bullish confidence, but we cliffed for a long time leading into this 2-year bull run, 3-year bull run, whatever it was. So it's always a crapshoot, in the beginning. Obviously, this was a 250-day ascending triangle. You don't know that 100 days in. You don't know it's going to hold the 20 SMA. So that's definitely a gamble here. And breakdown would be other end of the B-band, so 68 maybe, something like that. And if we look at weekly again, using a different type of visualizer for the B-bands, green being we're above the 20 SMA and the bands are tight. Red being we're below the 20 SMA and bands are tight. Historically, since 2012, we don't get much tighter than we are now on the 20 setting. And it's green, we're above the 20 SMA. The other thing I'm seeing on this is there aren't really too many fake outs. If we get multiple weeks that are tight and above the 20, we can say with a pretty good idea that we have a bullish bias here. The same thing, if we're below for several weeks before we break down and we're tight, we can say that with a pretty good idea that we have a bearish bias here. Now, if we look at the 14 setting, which is something we talked about a few years ago, a bunch of traders on Whale Pool, you also don't get too many fake outs. I don't really see any fake outs here. A fake out would be, we turn red and green and flip, and then, we get the opposite signal, basically. You don't really see that here. And this week we're seeing, a starting of a breakdown of the median on the 14. It's not super clean historically, but definitely not something I want to see if I'm bullish. All right, that's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think is going on. If we're dropping, if we're not dropping. Fed dropped rates today, that's for sure. Happy trading.